This is the regular meeting for the City of Southfield being held on Tuesday, September 6th at 6 p.m. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Banks. Present. Brightwell. Here. Cruz.
Present.
Frazier.
Here.
Hoskins. Here. Mandelbaum.
Present.
Taylor.
Here.
Madam President, you do have a quorum.
Thank you. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next, we have communications. And the Southfield City Council has established the following rules of procedure for all speakers. No speaker may make personal or impertinent attacks upon any officer, employee, or city council member or other elected official that is unrelated to the manner in which the officer, employee, or city council member or other elected officials perform his or her duties. No person shall use abusive or threatening language toward any individual when addressing the city council. And any person who violates this section shall be directed by the presiding officer to be orderly and silent. If a person addressing the council refuses to become silent when so directed, such person may be deemed by the presiding officer to have committed a breach of the peace by disrupting and impeding the orderly conduct of the public meeting of the city council and may be ordered by the presiding officer to leave the meeting. If the person refuses to leave as directed, the presiding officer may direct any law enforcement officer who is present to escort the violator from the meeting. Thank you for your attention. First, we have Mr. Greg Keeler.
Greg Keeler, Southfield resident. I have a question. I thought we were supposed to try for a certain period of time for us speaking at the beginning of the meetings, and then also look at us going from 3 minutes to 5 minutes, which we originally were. And I know everybody that comes here and presents gets 5 minutes. Residents don't. And I think the residents should take a good look at this, that we don't get to speak long, but everybody else that comes and wants our money gets to speak long. And we should be able to have a say in whatever goes on in here. And I think it's time that if that was what was presented back in February, we should be looking at making that change to 5 minutes. That gives you enough time to get your full thought out as opposed to running real quick and blurting out whatever you got to say, and more than likely not getting out everything and saying it correctly. The other thing I wanted to bring up was, because of your laws and or because of your ordinance, you have an ordinance that your trash can't be out in front of your house. So now that it's fall and people have their leaves coming out and everything else in their yard, I remember last year I sent Councilman Taylor a picture of one of my residents who was taking out her leaves. But because she had to wait till it was late in the day, it wasn't until it was very dark. She was going out there in her husband's wheelchair, taking her bags out, and I walked approximately 1 mile, taking out all her yard waste, which could have been easily set in front of her house for pickup when they were putting up all together, her and her son. So if I walked 1 mile, I know she walked 1 mile. If she'd have done it all by herself, she'd probably ended up walking a total of 3 miles. And I think when I sent the picture to her, if Lenny looks, there is no light around us. It is totally pitch black, and I don't think a widow should be out there in the middle of the night taking it out. It would have been nice, you know, the day she did it, left it in the front of her house on the front to be picked up that weekend, or the next day or a couple of days later. Thank you. And I think you should think about it that, that everybody doesn't sit in a little short yard. Some people have nice long walkways.
Thank you, Mr. Keeler. Next, we'll have Pam Gerald.
Okay. Good evening, council, to the mayor and all the other important personnel and administration that works in our great city of Southfield. I have come before council for quite a while talking about the ordinance as it relates to the ice machines at the gas stations. I'm happy to know that council collectively made a decision not to fine any of the gas station owners for just the ice machine. Also understanding that other violations that they know are an ordinance violation, that they could be ticketed for those reasons. Our gas station owners work really hard to keep a presentable gas station, most of them, a clean gas station. They keep gas in the pumps. They try to keep the prices down. What I don't want to see is gas station owners fleeing to Redford and fleeing to Detroit on the south side of 8 Mile because of this ordinance that I don't think has been thought through. And I don't mean that from a negative standpoint. What I'm saying is if a person purchased a gas station and that gas station was outside at the time they purchased it, it should be grandfathered into the purchase. The gas station owner should not have to come before council to do, or go before the planning commission to do anything to amend the site plan. I just don't think it's necessary, but I don't profess to have all the answers. But what I am concerned about is the city has a lot of power outages in certain quadrants in the city. And those gas stations that have ice, that ice comes in handy like just recently when we had a power outage and people were without power for 2 to 3 days or possibly longer. So I'm saying to the city that I want you to really be mindful when you're making these decisions. It's 44 seconds. Mindful of the decision that you're making. You know, we've grandfathered in diesel buses in a neighborhood. We grandfathered in the weight restriction of these diesel buses in a neighborhood. Certainly an ice machine is not as heavy and not a nuisance like cranking buses early in the morning because they're diesel. So I'm asking this council to make it clear that you're only asking gas station owners that are building new or doing a remodel to comply, and the people that have had it in that location before, that you let them be so they can have a business in Southfield. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gerard Mullen.
He wanted to yield his time to me. The only thing that we were concerned about, again, is the fact that at a lot of these gas stations, we have these charity boxes. Is there an ordinance regarding these charity boxes? Well, I called those companies and they said that they got an approval by someone at the city to put these boxes up. They did not say who the person was, but if they can put a box there, that's altering the site plan because they're taking up 2 parking spaces when the site plan may have said they needed 48 spaces, and now they might only have 45. Those boxes are a nuisance because people put garbage in them. Those boxes are a nuisance because they are overflowing with clothes. So that tells you the charity is not checking the box, not getting the clothes, and not getting them to the proper people. So do we want to lose gas station owners trying to do the right thing and our taxpayers on their property, or do we want the charity boxes, in essence, to run the gas station owners out of the city? And a lot of those gas stations have those boxes. They didn't authorize it. So if they don't want that box on their property, can anybody up there tell me so that I can pass it on to my friends that own gas stations, which is quite a few of them in Southfield, who they can call to get that box picked up? Because they've tried calling the charity, and the charity won't pick it up because they said the city gave authorization. So 2 questions. Who gave the authorization? And if they don't want it, who can they call to get it picked up off their property? And thank you, Madam Chair, for just allowing me to say what my husband's concerns were.
Thank you. Mr. Brett Tillander?
They're for the field zone. They need them for the field zone.
I think we're out of order, so we can sit down and wait until the presentation for field zone is over.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right, thank you. So that would be the 3 of you, Jessica and Donnie? Okay. All right, that concludes our communications for this evening. Now we have our presentation for of the Southfield Field Zone reopening.
That was fun.
It's all in timing.
Council President Taylor and City Council members and Mayor Sever and the administration of Southfield, it is always a pleasure to be in front of you. Usually we're celebrating, and tonight's no different. We were here last talking about Alora Allen, who had a few years before been with President Obama in the Oval Office and was an outstanding member at Field Zone. I'd like to report to you that she just recently graduated from Southern Texas University with her master's in communication. And I'd be remiss and in trouble with Alora if I didn't share that with all of you. So, but tonight we're here to talk about the reopening of Field Zone in person. Tonight and today is the very first time that we've been able to be with our club members in person. One of the things that is important for all of you to know, when I first came to all of you in 2010, it was for then the Boys and Girls Clubs of Oakland and Macomb counties to take on the leadership for Field Zone because there was a money issue and there was a need for the services to be continued. And today I come to you in charge of that same organization, but under a different name, Metro Detroit Youth Clubs. And the arm that still has the same number of locations, the change in name for us on the corporate side is because we're wanting to keep local control. The Field Zone was created by this community. And as we see in almost every nonprofit and many other areas, mergers and consolidations that take decision-making away from the community does not serve the community. So our board unanimously disaffiliated with Boys and Girls Clubs. It was very harmonious. However, we now emerged as Metro Detroit Youth Clubs. And in doing that, I want to talk about what none of us anticipated. Nobody anticipated what happened and what would be on the horizon with COVID. And as soon as COVID arrived, our staff team started reaching out to all of our club members. We lost 28 direct caregivers to our club members. Those were parents and grandparents. A 14 and 15-year-old young man here in Southfield. When we called, the 14-year-old answered and we asked to talk to the grandfather. Mm-hmm. He was in ICU at Beaumont. Before our staff could ask about grandma, he shared that his grandmother was in Beaumont as well. These 2 young men were home alone. They have no other family. They had lost their parents to addiction before both of them were the age of 3. These grandparents loved on these children. And they were great club members. Palm Sunday weekend of 2020, Grandpa died on Saturday, and Grandma died on Monday. The disruption that happened to our members at Field Zone was tremendous. We've all witnessed it in the community. This isn't a surprise, but there are names and faces. And shortly thereafter, George Floyd was murdered. And our club members were reeling from this. And we gathered on Zoom because that was the only way we could meet at that time. And our young women from Field Zone, 18 of them matched with 18 outstanding women and professionals of color at FCA, shared their feelings, shared what was going on. And it was powerful, one of the most powerful times in my entire professional career, to watch women who were making $500,000 a year, who had been there and experienced the same thing that our young women were worried about for their brothers and their dads and anybody that they cared for. So throughout this entire period of COVID, we have been dedicated to meeting the needs in new ways that we weren't anticipating. Part of what we were able to do as we prepared to emerge in person was to recruit back to lead the Field Zone. Now, mind you, Linda Neighbors is behind us every step of the way. She is leading our newest location in Detroit, but she has been guiding everything that we do here, and I send her well wishes to you as well. But we were able to recruit from Nissan, one of the original funding members of the Field Zone. We got him back, Donnie Wilson, who is now the director for Field Zone here and was on the original staff team at Field Zone, and he's going to share with you what we're planning on doing as we open this week.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, Councilman, Councilwoman, President. I'm getting all choked up. Thank you to everyone. That's a really warm introduction. I've been at Field Zone for 12 years, over 12 years now. And to step in as director after all this time, to see all the faces of members past and present, and to be able to make the changes and do the positive outcomes we desire. That's what I want to do. Field Zone has always been rich with education, rich with the arts, and I want to make sure that tradition continues. It's great to finally have members back in person. And over the course of COVID, all the outpour and support from the community has been amazing as well. And now opening up, we have Jessica Jones, one of our former members' mother. She'll tell you more about her story. Sorry, I wasn't as more eloquent in this.
Good afternoon, council, evening. My name is Jessica Jones. I am the proud parent of Jamish Jones, a student at Clark Atlanta University. My daughter, she is a junior. My daughter started coming to Field Zone in 6th grade. And when I ran into everyone after COVID, I wanted to cry and it brought tears to my eyes because me and my husband have been seeing my daughter grow. When I say the type of growth, she is not a follower, she's a leader, and it's because of this organization right here. She stands tall, she's in so many organizations. She's just taken on a leadership role, things that we didn't foresee. We prayed on it, but God has answered us. And it was only through this program that she took on the skills, and it gave her the skills to stand tall. And I'm standing before you to say that this program is very important. We have a leader in our family. We also have someone that is going to also lead others. Every summer, she still comes back and works for the club. She still volunteers the club. They still text all the members. They keep in touch. I need that. I love that, and I appreciate this club for everything. My daughter is now in her junior year. She has her own apartment. She's driving in crazy Atlanta, which we were afraid of. But when I told them, like, oh my God, she might be driving, they said, look, you did your job. We did our job. And I just want to say it was all because of Field Zone that I can say, and my son is now at Southfield, 6'5" basketball player, and he's still like, you know, I will be returning back to Field Zone this year, and I just want to say it's very important. These people are very important in the lives of those children and the efforts that they put into coming to work every day, making sure they're there, not asking them, the parents, any questions. So thank you, guys.
Just in closing, so that residents are aware of it, the Field Zone is available after school every single day. When COVID arrived, actually, when we assumed management of the space, it was $225 a year to attend. We reduced that quickly to $50 because it was not acceptable. During COVID, we have not charged at all, and we will not charge for the rest of this year. Typically, we charge a $50 membership fee so that there's a sense of ownership, that this is their club. We always scholarship everybody who cannot. A single mom coming in, and even at 4 kids with $50 is $200, it's too much. Council President Taylor, your willingness to help share about the mental health conference that we had in concert with Cheryl Thames. It was a powerful day. The community, the fire department, the school district, so many showed up and raised awareness. And I can tell you in closing, the importance of a place like Field Zone is more important than ever before. In 2010, we thought it was important because there was nothing. Now it's more important than ever before because there is no place for these kids to turn with the challenges and the problems that they're facing. I don't care which problem you bring up. They need a place to feel that they're empowered. You've created a space for them to be safe and to be engaged, to be seen, and to be heard. And we're grateful to be back in person. So thank you for your time tonight. Thank you for the space. And thank you for the commitment to the future. I appreciate you very much.
Thank you. But before you leave, could you tell us the age group for Field Zone and the days and hours of operation, please?
Field Zone is for ages, grades 6 through 12, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. to 7 p.m.
Thank you. Council, did we have Councilman Cruz?
Yep. Thank you for the update. This is very good. It's very inspiring. As Brett knows, we go back a little bit of ways. I was on his board back when we were Boys and Girls Club of South Oakland County. and he is an excellent leader, and I'm just really pleased to see you again, sir, always, and everything that you've done. So I just want to congratulate you on that, absolutely. And the work that you do, I know is, beyond imaginable a lot of times. You seem to work magic wherever you go. So, I'm glad to see you again. And Ms. Jones, I was very excited when you said Clark Atlanta University because I'm a proud graduate of Clark Atlanta University. And so I'm glad that she is there and doing well as well and so forth. And so to all of you, thanks for your time this evening.
Yep. And thanks for working with our youth. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Councilman Brightwell, before you leave.
Yeah, I just want to thank you for what you're doing and what you do. And I definitely appreciate the testimonial from a parent. That says a lot for the community and the fellow parents out there. When you can get a testimonial from a parent, that goes a long way for them believing their kid will be benefiting. And I think most of us adults now benefited from youth programs. And I know I can always just flash back to when I was a kid, where I learned how to swim and interact and numerous other things. And when I was growing up, so I'm just glad that we have this here. And you clearly, in your presentation, it brought to mind that we are looking for community benefit from a lot of things that are here in Southfield, and you hit that one. You hit that hit that category right on the head, right? The nail on the head with respect to community benefit. So, I would like for our cable people to make sure that this is broadcast over our channel, so that individuals who learns about Southfield by way of cable, they can realize the Field Zone is there, and the benefit to their kids and or things, individuals who are under their guardianship can rest assured they're getting a very good education there, a very good societal benefit there. So again, appreciate it and thank you very much.
Mr. Wilson, could you tell us how someone can join, where we could get the membership forms and that kind of thing?
Everything is online now. You can go to miclubs.org. You can enroll your members right on the webpage. You can come into our facility. We'll have a space and a computer available if you need to register with us. But you can go right online, find all information about our organization, and register for Field Zone.
Thank you so much. Councilwoman Banks?
I'd like to congratulate you for being back in person. I know how important it is, especially for the young adults. You know, they say it takes a village to raise a child, and, you know, you are a little village down there, and both of you are an example of being a part of the program and its success, and now you're giving back, and it is just so important, and I just want to say thank you. I know when our children were young, one of our most memorable experiences was the Bussey Center here in Southfield when they were, 3, 4, and 5, and I mean, I still have memories from that program, how wonderful it was and how it molded them, but after that, we didn't have any field zone or programs like that. So I'm glad to see that, what did you say, grade 6 through 12? So it's wonderful. Congratulations and best wishes.
Thank you very much.
Madam President, I'd like to just comment to Councilman Brightwell. Cable will be doing a infomercial about the program. Just as a reminder, when this program opened, the city committed a 20-year lease. We had valued it over $2 million. The Southfield Community Foundation raised over $2.1 million. Former Congressman Sandy Levin had brought in a federal earmark for $150,000 through the Department of Housing and Urban Development. This has been a phenomenal public-private partnership, and we're very fortunate. We're very excited to see the program up and running again. The 2-year break has been a little stressful, and just happy to see the space back in use, and the skills that it develops for our young people is just, that was what the original investment was, a long-term planning goal of the community to have a place for our youth to spend an afternoon, whether it's doing homework or dance or learning some of the broadcast skills or just playing air hockey. Just being young in a safe environment with leadership to provide guidance. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. No appointments. Next, we have 4 sets of minutes to approve, Council.
Council President, Mr. Frazier.
I'm sorry, I didn't see you. Councilman Frazier?
Yeah, I know, I'm so thin now. You can see right through me. Approximately how many kids are signed up for the Field Zone?
We currently have 127 enrolled members right now.
Is that the capacity, or can you still have more people?
We can still have more. We're not at capacity yet.
Okay. I know that I was around when the Field Zone was just an idea, and then it was kind of a sketchy plan, and then it was a more firm plan, and then it got rolling with it had a committee and the whole thing, and it's been a success ever since then because the right people were chosen to manage the Field Zone so that the kids didn't overrun the place. They had a structure that they followed, and so they made good use of their time when they were there, and were taken to task if they didn't, if they started messing around. So I think it's a great idea that ought to germinate and spread around to the other communities, because every time I turn on the news, you know, it's this age group that seems to be learning the bad things that they can get into. They've got too much energy and not enough direction. And the Field Zone is one of those things that can help give them direction so that they grow up to be good examples for the community. Thank you. Thank you for the work you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Seeing none. Now, council, we have 4 sets of minutes to approve. Yes.
Madam President,
Yes.
I'd like to move that we approve the regular meeting minutes of July 11th, 2022, the special meeting minutes of July 12th, 2022, the regular meeting minutes of July 25th, 2022, and special meeting minutes of July 26th, 2022.
It's been moved by Councilman Cruz, supported by Councilman Brightwell for the approval of our minutes as presented here tonight. We have 4 sets. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, everyone. Council, next we have our consent agenda. We have 2 items. Item A is the council authorization to release the draft Sustainable Southfield Master Plan. And item B is the authorization agreement with Defamation League of Michigan for use of the Donald Frakazi Municipal Campus on Sunday, September 18th, 2022.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to move consent agenda items A and B.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Mandelbaum, supported by Councilwoman Banks, for the approval of agenda items A and B as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Councilman Brightwell.
yeah, since I see our economic development person here, I would like to find out, what does, I think I know this, but I just want to get a more clear understanding. What does redevelopment ready do for us as a city? Yes.
Good evening, Councilman Brightwell. The state of Michigan supports the Redevelopment Ready program. It enables the city to access grants that are available through the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. So that's the main component. It puts us at a higher level when we're submitting projects to the state. They recognize that our city council and city staff have been working together to streamline the development process and to enable projects to move quicker, and that we're poised when things come into our community that we can act quickly and in a coordinated fashion. So it gets us more points with the state. The Redevelopment Ready program dates back to a suburban alliance program that the city of Southfield was originally part of the formation of that program. And again, it just helped us work together as a team so that we could be prepared and make sure that, you know, we have our comprehensive plan in place and our the CIP in place, and so that we, you know, that we're ready for projects when they come forward. So they recognize our work in that area.
So that gives us a leg up a little bit over other communities who are not?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Seibert?
Doesn't it also help us with support from the MEDC, Michigan Economic Development Corporation, for various projects within the city?
Yes, that's correct. And so when projects are moving forward and we're looking for financial support, such as our North End redevelopment project, because we were redevelopment ready, they were more supportive of our request for assistance with the Brownfield redevelopment program. When we put in a request, because we were RRC ready, we were able to access grant dollars for the Red Pole Park project. So they kind of run the gamut of different things. Again, when there's just a variety of different grants that come available, they recognize that we're ready to handle them.
Okay. Thank you. I was there several years ago when we got the plaque, and everybody was in when we came, but I just wanted to get a clarification that this tangibly helped us out. It's just not symbolic, it's tangible benefits.
Right, and we have to continue to recertify, so we have another year to get, you know, there's always ways to improve the way we're doing things, so we have to continue to grow and stay in the forefront of that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Council, we have one ordinance to enact.
Madam President?
Yes.
I would move that the council enact ordinance 1757, a rezoning request of Southfield Road LLC to amend an existing easy, what is that, mini overlay development district.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Cruz, supported by Councilman Hoskins for the approval, or the approval to enact ordinance number 1757, rezoning a request of Southfield Road LLC to amend to the existing easy mini overlay development district to allow for salons as permitted uses with development agreement of Southfield Road LLC as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you. That brings us to our agenda items for discussion and/or action. Our first item is item A, which is the authorized preliminary and engineering funding for Sherwood Village Water Main and Road Improvement Project, which is job number 2274 SFLD.
Good evening. So this is the preliminary engineering for the Sherwood Village subdivision, which is in section 24, and it's tentatively scheduled for water main and road improvements during our 2023 construction season. Our department received a proposal from our engineering consultants, HRC, for these preliminary engineering services, which include the survey work, soil borings, pavement cores, reviewing existing utility locations, which all leads to our bid specification documents and the bid plans. The total project cost is currently estimated at $9.4 million for the entire project. That will be brought back to council for award at a future date. The cost for the preliminary engineering services provided by HRC is $347,000. Funds are provided in the local street land improvement account through an increase in the local streets use of fund balance account, and are available in the water and sewer land improvements account. So it's recommended that your honorable body adopt the resolution which authorizes the preliminary engineering funding for the Sherwood Village Water Main and Road Replacement Project.
Council? Councilman Mandelbaum?
Thank you. Lee, you mentioned that this is tentatively scheduled for next year. What would be what would stop it from going forward?
Well, that would be in next year's budget, and these two projects, the next item is a similar item but for a different neighborhood project. They're both high priority projects. We're not entirely certain we're going to have the road funding to move both of them forward in 2023, so we will figure that out ahead of the next budget season.
Okay, and then in this neighborhood, I know you get the phone calls just as I get the phone calls, and I think the mayor also does. The streets are terrible, so I'm glad that this is going forward. But at the same time, I get a lot of requests for sidewalks. Is there, I know we just talked about we may not have money in the budget for this, but is there any way that we can find grant funding, or what do we need to do now to try to get sidewalks on some of these streets?
Sidewalks typically are installed through the special assessment district process, which is initiated by petition. So the residents in the neighborhood that are in that whole area, if we were going, it could be street by street, or it could be the entire subdivision if sidewalks were a big push. And it's come up now and again, but then the petition never seems to come in. But you know, we would work with the assessor to identify the district depending on where the signatures come from and which blocks really want the sidewalks, and then we'd move forward with it that way.
Now, being that there's going to be a project in the neighborhood and a lot of the engineering, and you'll have the cement, the concrete contractors and everything, will it be more, will the pricing be better if it was done through a special assessment? Because you already have a lot of the work already done?
Yeah, I don't think there would be a big difference. If the whole neighborhood were getting sidewalk, that would be a sizable project. I think that it could be a standalone project with just the sidewalks. Oh, I don't think there would be a noticeable difference with or without the road project.
Okay. And then just a follow-up to the city administrator, I know I sent you an email earlier today about some grant funding through the state, I think, the transportation grant that you can be used for sidewalks, ADA accessibility. Is this something that it could qualify for?
Possible. And, 3 weeks ago, a group of about a dozen of our city engineer, director of public works, city planner, Parks and Rec, we had a very large meeting with SEMCOG, the entire SEMCOG team, and we reviewed that. The preliminary analysis on the infrastructure bill first passed, City of Southfield has been successful every other year in obtaining a TAP grant. And what this has really done is doubled the amount of money going into that funding source. So we'll probably likely be able to secure something on an annual basis. However, the first round of infrastructure did not really raise any new money. It was at the expense of existing federal aid road projects. So it's a little bit of shuffle. Buckets of money have been made larger. So for certain specific areas, the answer is yes. We will be probably submitting a TAP grant on an annual basis. You still have to go through the planning exercise and the basis of eligibility. Our last TAP grant was we had the Safe Routes to School.
Right. Oftentimes sidewalks in neighborhoods are safe route to school grants. So in a neighborhood not far from here, for whatever reason, this part of the city was not built with sidewalks when those neighborhoods were first built. And we did secure a Safe Routes to School grant. There were a lot of piecemeal sidewalk in that neighborhood, so we were filling a lot of the gaps. Originally, that grant had included, depending on how far the funding was going to extend, to sidewalks along
Woodvilla.
Woodvilla, thank you. And that was the piece, there wasn't enough funding, so that got pulled from that project. To get sidewalks just for Woodvilla would probably not be too much effort on a TAP grant, because it would be the same arguments that we used for the last Safe Routes to School grant. Those grants do involve the schools, so we would have to do some outreach with the schools and see if we could get that lined up. They have some obligations from the educational side to be promoting children to walk and bike to school once those pathways are built.
Okay.
The grants also have a substantial match. I'll just remind council of that. And we ourselves have a very limited amount of money. After we go through our Act 51 allocation between major and local, within our present labor cost model, we only have an excess of about 1.5 million a year. And that is not a source we have typically used for any of our debt. Our debt has been covered by the 2.58 mils that is raised. And, given where we see labor costs, we're probably going to see our excess contributions in Act 51 funds, probably what's available to service, shrink from $1.5 million to $1 million is probably how that's going to model out. We do have a sizable fund balance in that because we've had our bond monies that we've been able to use. So we're looking at that. I'll suggest, the SAD district, one option could be in certain parts of the city, you establish a point of sale that requires sidewalks to go in. One of the challenges in this community is the land use pattern is so different. The west side of the city, they're simply not wanted. The east side of the city, where the land use pattern is more dense, there is a desire for sidewalks. And council may want to give that some consideration. It'll be a bite at a time. But we will do everything we can to attempt to secure those funds. And And your earlier communication regarding Freeway Park, as I've suggested, there is also, again, out of that carve-out of money from other federal road projects, a bucket of money for neighborhoods that have suffered from historical division because of freeways. 696 is clearly one of those freeways that divided an entire neighborhood, and that was a dialogue with SEMCOG as well.
Okay, yeah, I saw the grant. I was like, let's forward it your way just in case you didn't have it, so. All right, thank you, Lee, I appreciate it.
Between our staff and our consulting engineers, our friends at SEMCOG, we're constantly looking at that. I do expect, instead of a grant every other year, which has been our pattern, that it'll be once a year. We still need to do the analysis of the new legislation that was just passed 2.5 weeks ago. That focuses a lot more on climate resilience. But originally, that was supposed to be the second infrastructure bill that was supposed to bring a new funding source. Congress still needs to act on that.
Okay, thank you.
Any Councilman Brightwell?
Lee, I see the water mains. Are these the original water mains in both these item A and B, since I read both of them together?
Yes, those are the original water mains from when those subdivisions were built.
Okay. I know you're doing Tanglewood right now, and the fire department let me know they were extremely glad that Tanglewood was being taken care of from a water main standpoint, because that indicated that the water pressure there was, and that's problematic for the fire department. So this will obviously improve the water pressure and all, whatever.
Right, we don't have any significant pressure problems, so there's the daily water pressure, and then there's fire flows. So the fire flows are the things that we need to watch for. These neighborhoods, when we come in to do replacements, some of the neighborhoods, or just select streets within a neighborhood, have 6-inch water mains. Our current minimum size water main is 8-inch, so we get a little bigger of a pipe. That's a typical residential neighborhood size pipe for today's standards. So all of those things help to increase the flow. In the old pipes, it could be an old 6 or an 8-inch pipe, but over the years, those deposits start to build up on the inside of those water mains and start reducing the cross section. And we've had a high break history in Tanglewood in particular, which is why it rose to the top of the priority list for neighborhoods. We were having an excessive amount of breaks there, but we're having some similar issues now. They're creeping up in the Sherwood Village neighborhood with the breaks.
Okay. The other question, I'm not sure Austin should be here for this question or not, but it indicated that you have a balance of 13 million. And looking at these two, this is 19 million in total. Maybe I'm reading it wrong, but is there something that we have a balance of 13 million, but we got, in next year, we got $19 million worth of projects coming through. There's something going on there that I'm not looking at right.
Yeah, before these projects really can move forward, we have to look at the timing of when our Act 51 dollars arrive to make sure that they will be available for us to commit these funds before we bring the project to award to City Council. So at that time, when we come for award, which is probably not going to be until late next spring or early summer, we would have had another deposit of our Act 51 dollars, which further feeds into that local street fund balance.
Okay, all right, then, you cleared that up, thanks.
Mr. Chairman, Madam Chairman, Chairwoman, I apologize. I believe there is sufficient dollars to do both of these projects going in. When we looked at the fund balance, that was part of the analysis, and you need to recognize that a portion of these, both projects will be charged to the water sewer, where we do have ample funding at this time. And this is part of the constant review that we're doing on all of our projects right now. One of the challenges in an organization our size, the amount of programs being encumbered, always managing what's available in that balance, is you're looking at what projects you need to close out and the accounting leg on that from your funding, from your billing sources to what will come in. And we're constantly reviewing that.
Okay, thank you, thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, council, are we ready to act on this? May I have a motion?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to move agenda item A to authorize preliminary engineering funding for the Sherwood Village Water Main and Road Improvement Project.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Mandelbaum, supported by Councilman Brightwell, to approve the authorization for the preliminary engineering funding for Sherwood Village Water Main and Road Improvement Project, as presented here tonight. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion
Thank you.
carries. Washington Heights.
This next item is a similar ask. So this is for the preliminary engineering for the Washington Heights Water Main and Road Replacement Project. The thing that makes this project a little bit different is that this neighborhood looks a lot different. No curb and gutter like you see in Sherwood Village. It's open ditches. Historically, this neighborhood has had a lot of drainage issues in their ditches. It's just very flat. It's hard to get water to flow to some nearby county drains because the area is so flat. So that's going to be a big part of the design, and probably quite a bit of storm sewer installed so that we can address those drainage concerns that that neighborhood experiences on a regular basis. Again, the water main is aged, so we'll be replacing that. And then those asphalt roads will be rehabbed. Just, well, the design's not all done yet, so we'll see exactly where all the pavement cores and everything come back to see exactly the method for the asphalt rehab in that neighborhood. The total project cost is estimated at $10 million. The proposed cost for the preliminary engineering services provided by HRC is $655,000. And similarly, funds provided by local streets and the water and sewer land improvement accounts. And that is split 40-60, which has typically been our cost sharing we've determined between the water main fund and the road fund when we're doing both in a neighborhood. So asking for council to approve those preliminary engineering funds so we can move forward with design.
Councilman Mandelbaum?
Thank you. The only question I have is the projects are very similar in price, total cost, but the engineering cost for this project is almost double the other project. Can you explain that?
So these costs also that we get from the consultants are a not to exceed amount. This one will require more effort on the design stage, on the design side of it because of the drainage problems. So that needs to be evaluated. There's 2 different drainage districts in the Washington Heights. So we've got to make sure that we're keeping drainage between the 2 districts. Otherwise, that could require some, a trip to the County Water Resources Commissioner's office if we're going to alter the lines of those drainage districts. So there's just a little more involved from the design side here.
Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman Banks?
Thank you. This, this area is where the McKinley School is that correct?
Yes.
So there's gonna be a lot of construction, demolition, in that area. How is that gonna be affected if we put brand-new roads in and then heavy trucks are gonna be driving on it, et cetera, et cetera? Or is that part near the school gonna be done at a later date?
The area around the school is part of the Washington Heights neighborhood. I don't know exactly what the timing is for that particular project yet. It's not unusual for us to have to coordinate with projects, private development projects that are going on. We mostly do that on our major roads, but within this neighborhood, we'll coordinate that just so we're not tripping over each other. Hopefully they get there before us, but otherwise, you know, this happens all the time. We build roads and it oftentimes spurs development, which means extra construction traffic around on our newly paved roads.
Well, I'd like to suggest maybe you try to work with you know, the developer or that project. So I'd hate to see new roads and water mains and, of course, that will benefit it, but then have it destroyed by trying to develop this site. Because I know there's gonna be a lot that they're building, tearing down, et cetera, on that site. And it looks like both the roads from 10 Mile and Southfield Road, like there will be no other road to exit or enter into, except the two that you're working on.
That's a pretty large project area in that subdivision, so it would be easy for us to do our best to phase it so that we're at that end last.
Okay.
And most of our storm drains are actually toward the south and to the west of the county storm drains that we need to build to. So that oftentimes that's going to be dictating where we start. So that sounds like it will work nicely to give them time to get the private development going before we get there to fix the roads.
Thank you.
Madam President, the development agreement requires that all the traffic come in off of 10 Mile, off the shorter street, the more easterly one. And I just don't recall the name, I don't think it's Continental.
Continental.
Is it? Off of Continental, which is a shorter stretch, but again, your point is that the new road doesn't get messed up, so.
Mhm.
Mayor Seibert?
I have a question for Ms. Schultz. The concrete streets in the neighborhood, like Addison and Capitol and Barbara Fritchie, are all, I know Addison is part blacktop, part concrete. Are those streets going to be addressed in this? Or are you just working on the Santa Barbaras and George Washington, Martha?
Yeah, that's a good point. I am aware that those are existing concrete streets. Not all of those streets really require full reconstruction. So the scoping meetings that we have had thus far, we're looking at doing selective slab repairs on those concrete streets.
Okay.
But we would like to address those few concrete streets at the north end as well as the asphalt streets.
Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other questions? Council, are we prepared to?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I move that we authorize the preliminary engineering funding for Washington Heights Water Main and Road Replacement Project, job number 2273 SFLD.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Brightwell, supported by Councilman Mandelbaum, for the approval to authorize the preliminary engineering funding for Washington Heights Water Main and Road Replacement Project, as presented here tonight. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Madam President, for point of clarification for the agenda item A, we have the motion by President Pro Tem Mandelbaum. Can we get who had the support for that? For
Brightwell.
Brightwell. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Before we go to our next item, I see Donald Frakazi. He came into the building. We'd like to say hello. Thank you for coming out tonight. Our next item is the authorization to purchase benches and trash receptacles for pedestrian and bus stop improvements.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Good evening, Council. This particular item is with regard to, as noted, the purchase of benches and trash receptacles. In 2019-20, the Planning Department did conduct a rather comprehensive study of all the transit stops within the city of Southfield, all 353 of them, and found that many were lacking or undeveloped in necessary transit or pedestrian amenities, which included, but not limited to, key walks, concrete pads, signage, benches, trash receptacles, and bus shelters. Through the last two master plan processes, both in 2016 and our most recent one, public input strongly supported more sidewalks, connected pathways, and pedestrian amenities. The first phase of pedestrian and bus stop improvements were completed in 2021, 2022, with the installation of 15 benches and 13 trash receptacles, and we would like to continue that process in 22-23 with various priority locations throughout the city, and especially along our new non-motorized shared use pathways. The fiscal impact for this particular item, $53,086.60 with the funds available in the Planning Department Land Improvement Account. And what the Planning Department is requesting this evening is authorization to purchase 14 benches and 16 litter receptacles from Landscape Forms in the amount of that $53,086.60. And for the purpose with funds provided in the 2022-2023 Planning Department Budget Land Improvement Account. Thank you.
Councilwoman Banks?
Approximately where in the city, I mean, do we have a map, or do you know, like, the other locations that these are going to be placed at?
Yeah, so we don't have the exact locations yet. I don't at least have that information with me present. There are two different kinds of benches and trash receptacles that are being asked for, the Plainville and the Scarborough. I don't recall which one is in which area of the city, but we do know that especially along 9 Mile Road, there is a great need for these types of amenities. We also have a recent addition of a new pedestrian pathway, shared use path along Northwestern Highway from Lasser down to Civic Center Drive. We would also like to install some there as well.
Thank you.
Councilman Brightwell?
Jeff, I clearly like this project. I think it goes toward supporting our walkability for the city. This past year, I was a sort of go-between for a charitable organization in the planning department. They wanted to donate a bench, and they did so up on Civic Center. They bought a plaque and all that stuff. And so it was a very nice gesture. Do we have many, well, the question is, does that come up often that individuals who wish, or organizations wish to donate funds for the purchase of benches?
Yeah, I'm not aware of it happening very often. We as a city obviously have been before you a number of times because we see the need and the people see the need as well. But that is an occasion that happens very rarely where someone wishes to donate a bench.
Okay, all right, well, obviously, by talking about it now, we spread the word that we will obviously take donations, and all, obviously, you had to be up to the city quality of what the city requires for their benches and receptacles. So thanks, Jeff.
Anyone else? Councilman Frazier?
Yes, Jeff, don't we have some design examples of the benches and stuff? Seems to me someone donated a bench early on and it didn't last that long because it was made out of wood and the wood deteriorated. So do we have requirements for what the bench is made out of and all that?
Yeah, yes, we do. In fact, as I had noted, this Plainville and the Scarborough, we do have details on. And because they're in specific areas of the city, whether it's in the DDA, within the city center itself, we want to be consistent with the type of furniture that we do install within these particular areas, so you can kind of identify those various areas within the city. So yes, we do have very specific guidelines and details for these particular benches, yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, if I might add, Mr. Frazier, I was kind of like the go-between for this charitable organization. The city has specific design and also vendors that this organization had to purchase the bench from, and also the plaque. The plaque had to be a certain size and certain lettering and all those type things. So it's very specific from a standpoint of making sure there's consistency across with respect to what is being put down.
Sure.
So, okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Councilman Cruz?
Just going, just kind of, just a general question, Mr. Spence, is that design, is it for all of the benches to look the exact same, or can they be different?
Yeah, if I may through the chair. So yeah, again, as I had noted, the city center has a very specific bench in a specific color. And in order to maintain that consistency throughout the city center area, yeah, there's one bench design that we want to see in this particular area. I noted 9 Mile, I noted the DDA. It's the same. We want to make sure there's consistency within those particular districts. So that's why there's no amendments made to how the bench looks or the color. It's all about consistency.
Okay. I was just, it just crossed my mind as we were talking that maybe that could have been something like public art for us to have different designs throughout the city, but if that's the decision's been made, then understood, but, you know, something crossed my mind. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Resolution?
Madam Chair, I believe that we authorize the purchase of benches and trash receptacles for pedestrian and bus stop improvement as indicated in item C.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Brightwell, supported by Councilman Hoskins, to approve the authorization to purchase benches and trash receptacles for pedestrian and bus stop improvements as presented here tonight. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Our next item is the presentation and discussion for amendment to existing Middle Point Overlay Development District, the Master Development Plan and Development Agreement of Middle Point Investment Group.
Yes, thank you again, Madam President. So the next 5 items on your agenda are planning department items. They are for discussion only this evening. And then if council does find them favorable, they would then come back to you on the 19th of September. The very first one is PZR ODD 22-0001. Petitioner is Hassan Jawad, and he is representing Middle Point Investment Group. The property is directly across the street here from City Hall, right on the corner of Evergreen Road and Civic Center Drive. This has been before you before on a previous ODD, Overlay Development District, that was approved a couple of years ago. The petitioner is before you this evening for an amendment to that Overlay Development District. That amendment would include maximum spaces in parking structure, construction of the buildings within the permitted uses, 1,000 square feet to 500,000 square feet, minimum apartment sizes, building height, architectural standards. This particular project, again, is similar to what came before you before with a mixed-use development. However, the orientation and the mix of that development has changed. So again, this is the property in question. It is, as I had noted, has an existing ODD on it. This is the previous Overlay Development District from 2021. You'll see that on the left-hand side of the slide, it was maybe a 1, maybe a 2-story, 1.5-story retail establishment. The other buildings toward the middle of the property would have been either office or potential for maybe additional residential, and then the back portion, that along Central Park Boulevard, would have been residential. This is the proposal for the change. You can see it's quite different, and actually I'll show you the side-by-side comparison here, that actually going from in the original, the retail along the frontage in the corner of Evergreen and Civic Center Drive, now goes to a multiple-story building with residential as well as first-floor retail, a parking garage, and then a substantially larger retail development on the back of the property that is on the corner of Civic Center and Central Park Boulevard. This kind of gives you an indication, a little closer view of each of those elements. The overall site plan for the property, Evergreen Road is across the top with Central Park Boulevard at the bottom of the slide. standalone restaurant has not changed from what council reviewed and approved. And then we have the floor plans for Building B. This is the building that does front on Evergreen and Civic Center. Building B is the residential Building B, this is the corner, I'm sorry. Elevations for Building B, and again, these have not changed significantly. Building C is on the corner of Central Park Boulevard and Civic Center Drive. These are the floor plans for that particular building. Elevations for that building. Building D is on the north portion of the property, so we're still fronting on Central Park Boulevard, and this is a building on the north. Floor plan for that building and its elevations. There were also some parking deck options that are possible here. We're still looking at those. And parking deck elevations. And with that, Mr. Hassan Jawad is here this evening to provide some additional information to council on this proposed amendment.
Good evening, Council. Hassan Jawad, Middle Point Investment Group, 25248 Evergreen Road, Southfield, Michigan. I'm here for any questions you might have, but I'd like to at least give a quick recap because a lot of information was just put in front of you, and the plan is fairly extensive. So I wanted to give you kind of a high-level overview of the differences between the previous site plan and the plan that is before you. The biggest change is that we replaced what was a single-story retail building fronting Evergreen with a 5-story mixed-use building. To basically change the landscape of Evergreen Road, we wanted to have a presence on the hard corner of Evergreen and Civic Center, because everything that we have on Evergreen Road currently is single-story with a parking lot in front of it, and we wanted to do something a little bit different that made a statement, and we also wanted to increase the overall density of the site. And the way that we looked at it is we said single-story retail will always only be single-story retail, and by providing this 5-story mixed-use building, which will be retail on the first floor, there is an office co-working component on the second floor, and then there's 3 stories of residential above that. We wanted to basically, again, diversify the site, increase the density. Multifamily demand continues to increase, and the city center needs new and modern housing options that are pedestrian friendly within walking distance of shops and restaurants. And again, looking to increase the density and captive audience to ensure the success of the retailers. The previous plans that were before you were approximately 275 residential units. This is actually going to put us closer to about 475 residential units on the site. So there's a significant increase in the overall density. We also provide secure and covered parking for the residents and the patrons. We've got amenity decks in both of the larger residential buildings in the back. We're building double-loaded corridors on those buildings as well, so you will either have a city view or a courtyard slash pool view as well. And really the whole idea here is to provide a resort-style type living with high-end amenities that are within walking distance of all the amenities that we look for on a daily basis. And that's the gist of my overview. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Council? Councilwoman Banks?
Is this slide in our presentation, Jeff?
I'm sorry?
Is this slide in our presentation that was submitted to us?
It was sent out later this afternoon.
Sent out later? Because I don't see it. Okay, I'll try. So the building, it looks like that's facing Evergreen Road. No, if you,
Yeah, I'm gonna get you to one that is actually a little bit easier to see. That one. There.
yes. So I want to say with the gold in it, you're saying that's going to be apartments on the 3rd, 4th, and 5th floor? Second floor will be,
Co-working space. First floor retail, second floor office slash co-working space, and then 3 floors above that will be residential.
so what type of apartments are you talking about there? Are
In that building there, we are going with a smaller footprint studio, 1-bedroom units strictly in the building up front.
Okay, 1-bedroom studio, square footage approximately?
So if you're talking studio and 1-bedrooms, you're in the mid 500 to 600 square foot range.
And how many are you proposing there?
There's going to be approximately 20 per floor times 3 floors. There's approximately 60 units in that building.
And in the back where the blue roof is,
Correct.
those are all apartments?
Those are apartments with first floor commercial space. So what you'll end up with in the back is you'll end up with approximately 10,000 square feet of first floor commercial space in each of those buildings. And then you'll have residential units up above. You'll end up with approximately 210 units per building.
And it looks like they have balconies?
In the back, they do. The building up front does not have
Right,
balconies.
the buildings with the blue on roof.
They do have balconies.
And how large are those units?
They range, again, from the 500 square foot range to just over 1,000 square feet. So for example, you would have again, a studio, 1-bedroom in the, studios in the 500 square foot range, 1-bedrooms in the 700 square foot range, and then 2 bedrooms in the 900 to 1,000 square foot range.
And there's a demand for 500 square feet? I mean,
There is.
it just seems awfully tiny.
There is, and if it's laid out well, it works.
So I know originally we talked about this area like being walkable with fountains, and there were gonna be storefronts. So now that's all gonna be eliminated?
The whole site is walkable from going off of Evergreen, going east to west, and then coming from Civic Center, going from the south to the north. And then you've also got a park that's in there as well as a couple other pocket parks. There's one primary park, and then there's a number of other pocket parks throughout the site as well.
So the round green oval in front of the blue top building, I'm sorry, it's
I was going to say, the
that's a-
rendering doesn't look great here.
But that's
but
considered the larger park?
There is a park, that's correct, in front of the blue building to the north. There is a park there.
Okay, and so there, like, no water fountains or anything?
There's no water features as of now, but there is a park.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Councilman Mandelbaum?
Thank you. Looking at the 2 renderings, the new one really does add a big splash to that corner. I especially like that. It looks like there's added greenery, and I don't know if that's because of the park or just because you have a borderline of trees to the next commercial property over. But I definitely do like this plan a lot better. So the only question I had was, and it looks like you're connecting the pedestrian crossings across Evergreen, which is nice.
Correct.
The building fronting Evergreen, is that a parking structure in the back?
Yes.
How many parking spaces will that hold?
In this current configuration, there is about 200 and 87 parking spaces in that deck.
And that's, I'm assuming, connected to the building and only for use in that building?
No, it's actually available. There's a portion of it that is available for retail and patrons of the park and so forth and so on. So no, there is a portion of that deck that is a public component as well.
No, you said retail on like the bottom floor of the parking garage?
So when I talk retail, I talk about the first floor space in the building fronting
Okay.
Evergreen.
But
I also talk about the first floor space of buildings C and D, which are the two blue top buildings in the back.
Right. Okay. Okay.
So there has to be adequate parking is the key. Being the owner of 2 other properties in this corridor, I know how important parking is, and I know that we are getting interest in sit-down establishments as opposed to fast casual establishments, and so people are parking longer. People are parking in the evenings and parking on the weekends, as well as opposed to just the lunchtime rush that we have always been used to. So parking is super important for those types of entities, and we wanted to ensure that we had adequate parking.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Frazier?
Yes. Are all of those, the floor space here, income, or are some of them for nonprofit? Because there's some nonprofit businesses in that area, in that general area.
There's nothing as of now that is nonprofit.
Pardon me?
There's nothing in the site currently as of now that is nonprofit, if
Okay.
that was your question.
Because we need all tax revenue we can get. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
On the parking, what size for the cars? Is it just, not just compact cars, you're gonna have for bigger cars? Because, you know, some people have big trucks and getting in those smaller spaces creates a problem.
Yeah.
So are all the sizes gonna be the same, or are you gonna have some for compact?
No, we don't have any reduced size parking spaces. We have full size, we're working in full size parking spaces all the way throughout.
Perfect. And since we're going to ED, are you looking at putting in some kind of charging stations? or
Yes,
something?
absolutely. It's a requirement for us.
Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. Okay. Councilman Hoskins?
Thank you. I just had a quick question, because in our write-up here, and it said it up there as well, it just said that the minimum size of the apartments could be, potentially be these micro units.
In the mid 500 square foot range is probably the smallest that we're going to have.
Okay. And here it said a 325 square foot. That's why I was...
We made an adjustment to the ODD that in the event that something like that comes along and we wanted to do it, that we didn't have to come back. We are seeing, even downtown, we're seeing a big push on these micro suites that are smaller than 500 square feet in there. So it's just to kind of put it in perspective, your typical hotel room is about 350 square feet. Just to kind of give you an idea of what 350 square feet looks like. But we're seeing scenarios out there, especially with this younger generation, where these things are coming furnished, complete, and they are smaller than 500 square feet. But that was something that we have seen out there and have started to see a little bit of a trend. So we wanted to work it into our ODD to have that flexibility, because the time frame from when this project starts to when it ends, you want to be fluid, and it's a couple years from beginning to total completion. So I maybe try to save the trip if something changes in the future to allow that smaller unit.
And for the food options, I know that we've talked about this before with this project about, you know, in the wake of COVID, making sure there are multiple ways for people to get food, like that's not necessarily a drive-through, but like an option for people, a window where they can walk up to where they don't have to walk into a building, or maybe even like sit-down options outside. Is that also a part of this as well?
Yes, so we've taken special care and paid attention to ensuring that we have adequate outdoor spaces because we saw how valuable they were when restaurants were unable to seat patrons inside. So we didn't want to have it as a fallback in emergency. We wanted to make it just part of our everyday plan. So in instances where we have 15-foot sidewalks to allow for outdoor eateries, and Councilman, you mentioned about the ability to incorporate pickup type windows and so forth, and we have space allocated to allow that to occur if that is the desire of whomever the tenant is in the end. But outdoor spaces, covered spaces, you know, we've tried to stay ahead of the curve in taking what we've learned from the pandemic and incorporating it into this development.
My last question on, I guess, the blue building. Is the roof, is it just a roof? Could that be utilized for other things, or is it just a roof?
Right now it's just a roof.
Okay.
Yeah, right now it's just a roof, but there is some conversation regarding the building up of actually utilizing the rooftop of the building up front. That's on Evergreen. But one thing that I have included in my plans with our construction folks and architects is I asked that we spec and build our buildings in such a way that we have the flexibility in the future if in fact we want to put those rooftops to use.
Okay. All right, thank you. That's all I have.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Brightwell?
In essence, I had a question with respect to your market study. And I'm fairly aware throughout planning department and others through various presentations, you know, apartments are being built without kitchens, being built without bathrooms and that kind of thing. And, you know, there's a common bathroom within the building. Yeah. So your market study, how much are you relying on the transient LTU population, or what is this? What are you relying on basically?
The target market is young professionals. I think many of us, contrary to what age group we necessarily fall in, we are looking to live somewhere that we can walk out of our front door without necessarily getting into a vehicle. And if we want to go grab a cup of coffee, we want to grab a bite to eat, we want to take a walk to the park, we can do all of these different things without necessarily getting in the car, as well as having high-end amenities within the residence in which you're living. And again, we revert back to kind of the thinking of during the pandemic, our gyms were closed, right? And so when you start talking about what type of amenities, I haven't seen many, it's the trend, but I haven't seen many buildings here in this area, but the buildings that we looked at and used as our models in regards to the types of amenities, so you talk about gyms and yoga studios and movie theater screening rooms. So if you live in a 500 square foot studio and you want to have friends over to watch a movie, well, there's a movie theater screening room inside your building that you can book and reserve. And again, I kind of touched upon a resort style living, and I've seen a wine and paint room or a gourmet kitchen that you can book, or a business center, and having all of these things within the building in where you live, because many of us start working from home. but we don't necessarily want to sit in the house all day. So if I can walk out of my apartment and I can go down a floor or two and I can go into a business center and I can still socialize and be around people and work and have access to coffee and refreshments and whatever else it is while I'm working, I think all of us, contrary to what age we are, I think we're all kind of looking for a little bit of that live-work balance, and that's what we're trying to create here.
Okay, so your market study supports what you want to do, that's what you're telling me?
Yes, sir. It was the first thing we did.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
It's pretty innovative, really. Any other questions?
Madam President, I'd like to just comment. This plan very much optimizes, hopefully, the state's participation in tax increment financing by way of a brownfield plan. And for the council just to be thinking, perhaps it's time to rethink our strategy regarding our involvement, in particular the reimbursement of interest. This project still has some gap in it that needs to be solved financially. And I want council just to begin thinking about this a little differently. Today's numbers on rents are up about 11% in southeastern Michigan on fair housing rent. If you look at where the state of Michigan is in the public policy arena, we're now talking about that missing middle. You know, what is happening to that middle group income? The affordability of our housing stock is squeezing a lot of our young people out. So we're going to have a lot more people in that rental mode for a prolonged period of time. The other item I'd like council to begin thinking about is the impact of labor and the availability of labor to our 26 million square feet of office space. This country, whether we want to admit it or not, labor is going to become the shortage of labor is going to become the largest problem we're facing in the next 10 years. It will drive inflation, but until we get that back in check, we've got challenges. And as a community, the support amenities to keep that going here is absolutely critical. Those of us, next week the auto show starts as pre-show. A lot of us will be going back downtown. Some phenomenal things are happening in Detroit. We were that first ring suburban community that grew up after the demise of a great city. And 100 years ago, one of the greatest cities in this country. And, you know, watching its resurgence. But our role is how do we stabilize ourselves, not lose that investment to that employment base that we have. And this type of development, it really optimizes where all the trends are. It has been set up, why a multi-story versus a one-story? The state of Michigan won't support it in its economic development initiatives. You know, they want that mixed use. Mixed use, in their definition, isn't a single story followed by residential behind it. It's the vertical integration that they're looking for. And I think what Mr. Awad is bringing forward to Southfield brings us the best opportunity to seize those dollars. You know, it's what we accomplished with Northland, getting a $20 million commitment out of the state. That doesn't happen every day. I mean, we did that. And this project has that same opportunity for us. It also has the strength of that existing commercial tax base, which we need to do everything to preserve. So I just want you to begin thinking about that, the paradigm shift, and the administration's happy to speak with you, one-on-one about the types of tools, probably the last tool we're not using, and that's that reimbursement of interest. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments for Mr. Hassan Jawad before we go to the next item? Okay, seeing none. We know that this will be brought back to us on September 19th. As
Thank
a
you.
public hearing, or?
Yep.
Will it be a public hearing, or?
It would be a public hearing, yes.
Okay, on the 19th. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next item for discussion is the rezoning request with the Overlay Development District Development Agreement at Friedman Real Estate for mixed-use development on the property located at 27400 Northwestern Highway.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. So before you, we have a new overlay development district request. This is PZRODD 22-0002. As you noted, petitioner is Friedman Real Estate, property located at 27400 Northwestern Highway. We are on the north side of Northwestern Highway between Bell Road and Telegraph. The property is zone B3 general business with P vehicular parking and R1 single family residential. And this property is eligible for ODD. If you recall, this particular property came before you a couple of months ago to add this property to the Northwestern Highway Corridor District ODD. The proposal is to rezone to ODD Overlay Development District for a master development plan of mixed-use development, approval of the Phase 1 site plan for conversion of the existing building to storage with mixed use on the first floor, with potential future phases that would need site plan approval from the Planning Commission and the Council, potentially for medical office building, as well as potential for an assisted living facility. Well, this is the property in question. A lot of us know this as the Plant Moran building that has been vacant for some time. The existing zoning, as I had noted previously, the existing condition of the property, existing conditions including the north side. And one reason why I'm showing you this particular location is because this is the area in which the drop-off area or the loading unloading area would be for the storage facility itself. So the existing conditions with the building there in yellow in the middle with the parking lot surrounding. And this is the proposed master development plan. As I had noted, the building in the middle, the existing office building, would be converted to inside storage, climate controlled. They would also be including on the north side of that building a drop-off loading unloading area with the potential, as you can see, with the medical office building on the left-hand side and a potential for that assisted living facility on the right side of the existing building. Potential phases 1, 2, and 3. Site plan. This is a large site plan that shows, again, that drop-off area, the pedestrian connections that are required, as well as connections both on the east side and the west side of the building to enter into the building. Landscape plan, so there's going to be significant upgrade to existing landscaping on the property. The first floor would be not only storage units, but those areas in blue represent that mixed-use development. With the area on the left-hand side, 3,000 square feet, that could be actually split up into 3 different uses. On the right-hand side, that particular blue area would be the office, in which there would be potential for the sale of boxes and other moving type. This is a look at the loading zone on the north side, along with the elevation for the north. And this is that rendering of that north loading zone area. So again, this is where patrons would be coming into the building in order to get to those climate controlled units. Elevations. And again, potential second phase for that medical office building and what that potentially could look like with the floor plan, their elevations, and the assisted living floor plan, 4 stories, and its elevations. If the property was to be fully developed, this would be the rendering that would show what that ultimately would look like. There are some options built in as well. And with that, the petitioner is here this evening to add to this presentation.
Good evening, greetings.
Good evening.
My name is Peter Stuhlreier with Design House Architecture, 3300 Auburn Road, Auburn Hills, Michigan. I am here representing both the seller, the owner, and the developer of the property. And this is our first time with your group. We have been in front of the Planning Commission several times, worked together arduously with administration to come to a plan and an arrangement that was able to be unanimously approved by Planning Commission, at which time we would like to now introduce it for a discussion only, maybe just a robust question and answer about the project tonight. And I can go over some high-level things and then just talk about it. We can talk about operations, development, future plans, listings. I've got the whole group here. So anything that comes up, I've got everybody to talk. The biggest piece that that needs to be understood about this is that big office buildings are generally becoming obsolete. I don't want to blame everything on COVID. It's just the trend. There's huge parking requirements for buildings like this, and those huge parking fields are big urban heat islands. They're bad for the environment. They're unnecessary, and the opportunity came to us for this particular building because it was built so robustly when it was designed that it is now able to house climate-controlled storage on all the floors without structural reinforcement. This never happens. If you can recall, I was the architect for Arbor Lofts. That was one of the plans for that as well, and it did not come close to the structural capacity for what this building does. So finding that out was important to us to allow these other acre and a half plus or minus parcels on the flanks of this center building to then become mixed-use development potential future phases. So where we're at today is rezoning to ODD and including, along with the B3 uses that are allowable, the inclusion of interior climate-controlled self-storage. This is something that the potential demand for this product might come up in this discussion. I have extensive data with me about that and about who's going to use this, whether it's local small businesses, local residents, how far away they live, how many of them there are, and how much more unmet demand there is in our small radius. So we can touch on those items. The key to a mixed-use development here also is that we have all the utilities, we have graded parcels, we have the curb cuts we need. We're probably going to have less traffic even after phase 1 and phase 2 compared to a 4-story office building. So everything is here teed up for this thing to become a better, more vibrant addition to the community than what it is today and has been for almost a year and a half, which is a vacant building. So that's where we're at today, and that's all I have, and just like to answer any questions you have.
Okay, thank you so much. Council, do we have any questions or comments? Councilman Brightwell?
Well, you did hit on something. You indicated you are prepared to speak on market study and or your ability to fill this place up. Given that Southfield has we get requests for storage facilities constantly. So you're saying that there's a market for your additional storage capacity?
There's approximately 4 times the amount of unmet demand than this building will fulfill in our radius, our 3-mile radius.
Okay. And you're unique because of your temperature control? Is that will set you aside from everything else that's here?
That's right. We've got the traffic counts, we've got the visibility, we've got the climate control, and that's right. That is why we're unique. And this particular brand that's coming here is a major national storage brand. This isn't somebody just, first time in it.
Okay. and I might have missed this, but just from a visual standpoint, accessibility to the storage area, is the proposed storage will be at the top floor, or is it the bottom floor, or what? What's the accessibility there?
So it's all the floors. The access point is on the north, in the rear of the building. You'll pull in with your car. This is not something we're moving trucks, and it's not a major warehousing facility. This is people just like you and I going in and putting some antiques and furniture and other things in for a few months or years. But you'll come in the doors will open automatically as you push the cart through, and as soon as you enter the climate control building, you'll confront one or both of the elevators, large size elevators, if you're not already on the ground floor where your unit is, and you'll ride to your unit. The lights will turn on automatically as you enter each floor or go down each hallway, and it'll be air conditioned and heated throughout the year.
Okay. So I'm assuming you would have a multi-faceted market study, looking at all these various entities that you propose to have at this location?
That's right. Well, the additional sites for mixed use become available if the parking demand for the office goes away. So our ability to market those sites begins as this process kind of works its way through. So whether it's health club, I think we had health club, we had apartments, we had senior housing, we had retail, medical office space. So anything that's allowed in B3 that is in demand in this neighborhood becomes now available. I mean, it's almost like just inventing 2.5 acre parcels out of thin air and putting them right in the middle of Main Street. It's not something that happens every day. So we're not real worried about the 2 side parcels and the fulfillment of their future.
Okay, all right, well, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Mandelbaum?
Thank you. I happen to like this plan a lot better than just taking the original building and making it storage. I like the addition of the 2 other buildings. My question is similar to one that Councilwoman Banks asked earlier. You know, we just we're in the middle of redoing the roads right in front. What type of guarantee do we have that the roads won't get pummeled when you're building the 2 additional buildings?
Well, I would assume that would go through the engineering departments and the bonding and everything else, but I mean, I would assume that no more so than we can promise that they wouldn't. What we don't need are additional, we don't need additional underground retention. We don't need any additional surface retention. As you can see, we wouldn't be adding any impervious surface. We'd be removing some, as a matter of fact, because the parking counts would reduce. So we wouldn't be cutting the curbs in either case, because both curb cuts already exist.
Right.
And I'm not even sure, I haven't studied the utilities, but even if we needed another, water or sewer tap, my guess is they're not all the way on the other side of a 200-foot right-of-way, road. They're probably on our side. So I don't think that we'd be tearing into the road. I can get back to you before the next meeting about where those are, though, for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Hoskins?
Thank you. And you kind of touched on this when you were having your discussion with Councilman Brightwell. And just like Councilman Mandelbaum, I too like that there's not just a storage facility, that there's other proposed uses for the other buildings. And I'm kind of curious about those. I know obviously like in here, there are multiple options, assisted living, a facility, and a medical building. But is there one that we're leaning closer towards, or are we just going to see what the demand is? I think you kind of mentioned that.
We're leaning towards the medical office and the assisted living.
Okay.
That's where our ear to the ground is hearing right now. And of course, the whole economics of this purchase and this deal comes down to those properties actually becoming developed, because they're useless today, and tomorrow they're worth land lease, sale, or straight development as new site plans. So they're the key to the whole thing, really.
And so when would the process get started for the development of that?
The immediate need is to develop the main building as storage, and then have the survey teams carve the 2 other parcels off per the ODD and the site plan approval from phase 1, and then turn those out into the marketplace for future developers or development or sale.
Okay. All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Banks?
Thank you. Approximately how many spaces are you proposing in this building?
Approximately 700, 800 maybe.
And those spaces will be how large?
They range from 5 by 5 to 10 by 20. The average is about 10 by 10.
And just example, like a 5 by 5 space, how much would that be renting for, approximately?
$70 a month approximately for a 5 by 5.
Have you looked at outdoor storage?
We are not interested in outdoor storage for this site,
Okay.
but I have looked at millions and millions of square feet of outdoor storage, yes.
It just seems like we have an awful lot of indoor storage that keeps popping up throughout the city. Personally, I think there's a high demand for outdoor storage in the city. There's a lot of people that have invested in motor homes, trailers to go on vacation ever since COVID. They don't want to stay in hotels. They don't want to stay in Airbnbs. And we don't have any spaces in the city to store vehicles. So they're looking elsewhere, or trying to, and a lot of the outdoor storage spaces, they're hard to find. Very, very difficult to find.
Understood. I can talk to the developers and ask them that question for the next.
I mean, I didn't know behind the building, how much room there was for, like some type of row of outdoor storage for maybe a certain type of a motor home, et cetera, et cetera. Because if you're talking, $70 for a 5 by 5 square feet, I know what people pay for those 10 by 25 spaces for the trailers. I think that's all my questions. Thank you.
If I may, through the chair, to the question by Councilwoman Banks with regard to outside storage. The ODD, it's very specific that is a prohibited use in our ODD district for the storage of vehicles on property. So he would not be able to do outside storage in an ODD, basically.
So I'm just curious, and it's not related then to this. So what areas can you store recreational vehicles?
The potential is in our industrial zone districts. There's a potential for outside storage there.
And basically, that's only along 8 Mile Road?
Generally, yes, that would be along 8 Mile, yes.
And didn't we at one time discuss somewhere around 8 Mile and, was it Lazar or?
Yeah, so
or maybe it was even Evergreen. There's supposed to be some outdoor storage area there?
Yeah, if I may, there actually was an outdoor storage area for one of our local auto dealers to park vehicles. So again, that's why I noted that industrial district along 8 Mile does allow for the potential of storage of vehicles on it. And there was a specific one that I don't believe is in use anymore, but it was in use for some time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Oh, Councilman Brightwell, and then we'll have the mayor.
Good. In essence, I like this particular project, and I like the dynamics that's proposed there. But is there anything comparable in the region or nationwide that has this many components, many things going on at the same time?
The number one trend in this type of storage that is meant for households is to place it in mixed-use districts. So you will find it, and I can bring samples, like hundreds of samples, putting the climate-controlled self-storage where it belongs. It used to be that self-storage was pushed into light industrial along with the outdoor storage, and it made no sense because the users, the small businesses, and the households that were using this service or this item were having to go to places where they shouldn't be driving to and going at night and hauling, mattresses across gravel driveways. So this is the number one trend in this industry. So whether it's we've done this to tennis court facilities, we've done this to Kmart's, auto dealerships, any obsolete building that happens to be in a great district that still wants to maintain, some vibrancy around it is ideal for this situation, for this type of thing, as long as there's demand. There has to be demand.
Okay, thank you. Madam
Thank
Chair.
you. Mayor Seibert?
I know we've had numerous requests for inside storage, and what I keep hearing is that there is a demand for this. I look at these projects as if we're going to stay flexible and fluid, it's all about adaptive reuse. So while there was a demand for, great demand for office space, there's less now. So what do? We can pivot to housing, we can pivot to storage. If in the future we don't need all this storage, then I'm sure that we would pivot to something else. It's very similar to converting schools into other uses because the demand isn't there for the space. So personally, I'm very positive about this development. We've got a large building sitting on Northwestern that's begging for a new use just down the street. You've got a brewery that's now becoming a market. And again, it's just turning as needs turn. And in the future, maybe this space will become something else. As far as outdoor storage, this has got to be in a much more light industrial or a commercial area. Right behind this is a neighborhood. I know if I lived in Riverbank, I don't think I'd want to see a parking lot filled with RVs and boats and all of that. And I don't disagree with Ms. Banks that there is demand for that. It's all about place. And this certainly wouldn't be the place for that. That's it.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. So this will come back to us too on 9/19. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam President.
Okay, our next item is the presentation and discussion for the amendment to the existing Northland Overlay Development District Master Development Plan and Development Agreement of Contour Development.
Thank you, Madam President. So this is another ODD with the looking at amendment. This is the Northland Overlay Development District, where there has been some considerable construction and demo happening on site already. Petitioner is before the council this evening to amend the overlay development district, Northland ODD that was approved, PCR ODD 20-0001. In this case, we are looking to amend the overlay development district agreement and development plan to allow for the construction of a 160,000 gross square foot Costco business center. This would actually be the first one in Southeast Michigan. As well as change site. This particular development is also taken two additional properties, which includes the credit union site as well as the Old Spanish restaurant site. So basically, that entire property, including that corner of Northwestern Highway and Northwest Drive, is now included in this. So the area in yellow is the proposed Costco Business Center portion of the site. As I noted, is currently has a Northland Center overlay development district on it. This is the ODD that was originally approved back in 2020. We had Greenfield Road across the bottom of the property. The portion that we're kind of focusing on this evening is kind of the left side, the upper left side of this particular property, which is actually phase 2 of the development, or at least noted as phase 2. And the gray area right there is the portion of the property in which Costco is hoping to get approval. It also includes some adjustments to a couple of the existing, part of the ODD, residential buildings, buildings L, M, and N. Part of the building N, or actually building N, would actually completely be removed as part of the amendment. And then M would actually be joined together with what was left of that to form just 2 buildings instead of 3 there. There are also some townhouses that are basically along the like that northern edge of the proposed Costco site that actually would be eliminated as well. So this is the differences in the plan. So again, you can see that building L and M, and the new orientation for those. There's also a new orientation for the driveway that comes on the Northland Drive, and then the 160,000 square foot proposed Costco Business Center with its parking and loading areas. And this kind of details all the various differences between the 2 plans. I had noted buildings L and M and the changes there. There's some changes in parking as well as total number of units. Really, they're close to the same as what was originally proposed, just a different configuration.
Madam President, if Jeff, if you could turn your mic on.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I didn't know him. Do you want me to start from the beginning, or did you hear that?
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
We're fine. Okay, thank you. This is the plan for the ODD itself, noting the various aspects in and around the proposed Costco location. And again, the site plan for Costco itself, the floor plan, the landscape plan. Again, significant landscaping around the site, and this was part of what the Northland design guidelines called for. 8-foot wide shared use pathways around the site, significant landscaping, as well as a potential for additional screening, the use of fencing, brick piers, that type of thing. So it is a significant upgrade to what's out there right now. Concept elevations, renderings. And with that, we do have the petitioner here this evening that can kind of expand on this presentation and again go into the changes between the 2 plans, the original ODD and what is being proposed for an amendment.
Thank you, Jeff. Good evening. David Dedvukai, Contour Companies, 40950 Woodward Avenue, Bloomfield Hills. Scott Wilson with Kinley Horn, who is a new PE firm here in the state of Michigan. They just opened across the street, so we want to welcome here to the city of Southfield. Good evening. We're here to request an amendment to our ODD agreement for the Costco Center. Can you hear me?
Is the mic on? I don't know if the mic is on. He's talking into the mic.
Now? Is that better? Good. Yeah. So we're here for the ODD agreement, amendment to the ODD agreement to expand the size of the Costco building. Originally, we had up to 100,000 square feet. Now we're requesting 160,000 square feet. We believe that bringing Costco on board with the name recognition and the brand on the southwest corner of our site is a huge addition for Northland and for the city of Southfield. We're very excited. As you can see on the elevations, Costco has been working greatly with us on accepting the concept, the look, the history of Northland. And you can see the elevations, not your typical Costco. So this not only will be the first business Costco in the state of Michigan, but it will be Northland City Center's Costco. So we're very excited about that. With that, any questions for Scott and myself?
Well, before we ask our questions, we have our DDA director in the audience. Would you care to comment? Mr. Alice Evis.
Good evening, Madam President and honorable council members. I'd like to take a moment and just provide and share the Southfield DDA recommendation on the Costco Business Center. On August the 26th of this year, the DDA Board of Directors had the opportunity to hear representatives of Northland LLC, also known as Contour, to discuss details of the project. At the conclusion of the presentation, there was an opportunity for board members to ask questions, primarily focused on the operation of the center. Examples of these questions included hours of the operation, type of products that were going to be sold, investment, jobs, and so forth. Once the questions and answers concluded, the board unanimously recommended the Costco Business Center be forwarded to this body for future consideration. Conclusion, I would just like to add that at the end of our meeting, there was great enthusiasm and excitement by this development. Many of the board members recognized the value of the Costco brand, its sign, its colors, and believe it will only add to the overall development. There was also quite a bit of expectations that property values surrounding this particular development would increase exponentially because of the development, as well as being the first kind of development in the state of Michigan. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Council? Councilman Cruz?
Yep, I was, just wanted to be, I've never seen this. I know you're saying this is the first one that's gonna be here. So what is it that they actually do?
So Costco business is geared more to the hospitality industry. Typical Costco's, you'll find furniture, home goods. This one is geared more towards restaurants, business owners. So the hours of operation are a little differently. Monday through Saturday, I'll let Scott go off on that, but Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., Saturday, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m., closed on Sundays, which typically normal Costco's are open on Sundays. And the differences, other differences, 30% of the sales are delivered to businesses via versus walk-in. So a lot of deliveries, also small box truck deliveries, more product and limited categories. So like I said, no home goods, no jewelry, clothing, CDs, pharmacy, more towards merchandise for the restaurants, the hotel industries, hospitals, things of that nature. Higher sales dollar per transaction, less parking requirements. So typically, this is 350 spaces compared to 750 spaces. So I think those are categories that, when we talk about new roads and deliveries and traffic, is a little different compared to the typical Costco.
Okay. So there won't be any trucks or anything that'll be stored there? It'll just be the traffic in and out?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha. All right, that's all I have, Madam President.
Thank you. Mayor Cyber?
My question is more probably to the planning department. Several years ago, when we redid Northland Drive, this is prior to the arrival of Contour in this area. We put Northland Drive on a road diet and reduced it from 4 lanes with a median to a 3-lane road. I'm wondering if there's enough right-of-way, given the increased number of residential units plus a business this size on Northland Drive. If this road may need to be widened, Currently, there's an issue with buses stopping to load and unload passengers and blocking traffic. So this is something I think that we really need to look at as this development progresses. And I just add, I'm just so pleased to have this in our city, as well as respecting, we are honoring Northland. We're not erasing it. It's a new Northland, Northland City Center, and to have that consistent theme of the J.L. Hudson building, which is going to be coming back to life in 2024. It's great to see it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Brightwell?
You mentioned that Costco was doing something to blend with Northland, blend with the image of Northland. So what is that specifically other than that picture?
Yeah, so the facade of the building, typically Costco's would be a split-face block and, you know, different, the typical Costco, where they're matching the stone veneer, the brick veneer of our ODD agreement for our typical buildings of the Costco, or the Northland site. So they're keeping the tradition of, you know, the mid-century modern site that we have in place now, very much matching the new buildings we're building now.
Okay. I was out of town several years ago. I happened to need to have the opportunity, I needed to visit one of these centers in another major city, and it was impressive. And it was obviously different. They didn't have food and all that jazz, but and like the mayor said, I'm impressed with this, and obviously the name recognition for that particular spot, it should draw traffic and draw individuals to the city of Southfield. And I'm also pleased to hear that they are willing to, you know, go without design or facade that we wish to. Was that a hard sell?
No, I think they understood the story and the idea of the old Northland Mall and its history. So it was a pretty easy conversation. Our architects worked closely with theirs to achieve this look.
Okay, I know some companies are very unique about their image and signage and all that jazz. Okay, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. City Clerk Sharika Hawkins?
Just a quick question. Will the average Costco member still be able to have access to this Costco business? So if you have a regular Costco membership?
I believe so. I believe so, yes.
Can we confirm that for our residents when you guys come back?
Yep. And there will be an opportunity, employment opportunity as well. They'll be looking to hire local, we hope, and for us, that's a great thing because we want the locals to live in the apartments next door and eat and shop and do everything else in that walkable community.
If I may, through the chair to the city clerk, our understanding through the planning commission meetings was if you had a Costco card for like an existing Costco, you would be able to use that in this particular facility.
Thank you. Councilwoman Banks?
Thank you. I think this is going to be a nice complement to the whole proposal of the Northland site. And Councilman Brightwell, I thought you said they did not have food here, but it's my understanding they do sell food. Is that correct?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's just that they don't have like the jewelry or the
Correct.
Exercise equipment, et cetera. But it's basically going to follow the same pattern as a regular Costco, but maybe larger volumes or like pallets of things that they're going to be selling?
Less SKUs, more quantity of product.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions, comments? Okay. Jeff, this will come back also
Yes, ma'am, on the 19th, yes.
on 9/19 for public?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item is the presentation and discussion of regarding the zoning ordinance text amendment.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. So this is a text amendment. Specifically, we're looking at the Southfield Tech Corridor. That is the area between 8 Mile and 10 Mile on Telegraph Road. Council has designated this particular area as a technology corridor. You recall we have Lear Corporation is in this particular area, as well as other businesses. And this text amendment would basically focus on allowing, with the genesis of more electric vehicles, the research, testing, repair, and maintenance facilities for electric vehicles. Basically, that is what this text amendment would focus on. Again, because this is the tech corridor and because of the highly specialized requirements for electric vehicles, we would bring this forward to add to the overlay development district for the tech corridor. Repair basically would include software and hardware updates, and obviously because this would be a repair facility to allow for paint, body repair, and collision. And then the maintenance aspect would include service, charging, and then related parts and accessories. So again, what is before the council this evening is to allow for electric vehicle research, testing, repair, and maintenance facilities in the Southfield Technology Corridor Overlay Development District as a permitted use.
Thank you. Council, do we have any questions? Okay.
Okay, and again, this will come before you on the 19th.
Okay, thank you. And then we have our next item, which is the presentation and discussion regarding the rezoning request and overlay district development agreement of Tesla Inc. for electric vehicle research testing, repair and maintenance facility on the property located at 21375 Telegraph Road.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. So this is PZR ODD 22-005. This is specific to the petitioner of Tesla Incorporated, again, electric vehicles, at the address that you had noted on the west side of Telegraph Road between 8 Mile and Hazelhurst. This is currently existing use within the building for automotive repair, and then Tesla is looking to come onto this particular site to provide for that maintenance, research, repair, and maintenance facility. So again, this is shows the property with just a driveway that comes off of Telegraph Road. The building itself is actually behind the existing landscape company that's on Telegraph. The zoning is industrial. The existing conditions are the existing building on the site. And then the proposal. The proposed plan does include 2 additions. On the west side of the building, it would be part of, the new building would be part of that maintenance facility. And then on the east side of the building would be for a lounge area for their customers. So this is the proposed rendered site plan. It does include a pedestrian connection from Telegraph Road into the site, as well as new landscaping. The floor plan for the existing building, or proposed, should I say. This is the interior of one of the existing buildings. I should note that, and I'm sure the petitioner will bring this up, the nearest facility for Tesla maintenance and repair is in Chicago. So we're looking at a good 4+ hours away. So this would be the first facility here in this particular area. Exterior elevations for the building, renderings. Again, EV charging is going to be on the property for Tesla vehicles. And with that, we do have the petitioner here this evening that can add to this presentation.
Good evening. Excuse me. Good evening, Council. Thank you for your time. My name is Kayvon Raffi, address 901 Page Avenue, Fremont, California. I'll be representing the proposed 34,000 square foot remodel and expansion of an existing building. There's no proposed changes from the previously approved presentation of this package. We are proposing the use of EV research, testing, repair, and maintenance of battery electric vehicles at this location. As Jeff alluded to, 52% of BEVs that are sold since 2019, 52% of those are Tesla. So there's a, and as Jeff alluded to, the nearest center, which would conduct a similar service to customers, is located in Chicago. So there's a large underserved population of customers here in this area, and that would be coming to this location for services. As Jeff alluded to, we are expanding the building at the rear to allow for additional ports and storage space. The front of house, that white cube that you kind of see attached to the front facade is the customer service entry that we're proposing that to be clad in metal panel to give it more of a modern, clean aesthetic. And the colors and signage here are Tesla-specific branding elements that we've introduced here. Overall, we're going to refresh the entire site. There's going to be new updates to the site plan, path of travel from the sidewalk. There's going to be landscaping. We'll paint the entire exterior of the building, replace some of the metal panels with EFIS for a nice, cleaner aesthetic. We will also provide rooftop screening for any added exhausts that we have on the roof. With that, I'll open it up to any additional questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Council? Councilman Cruz?
Yes, I had one question first. Can I get a test drive? No, I'm saying, no, but my real question is, just simply, are there going to be stations there for people to charge up that are not coming for Tesla, or is this totally just?
Correct. These will be service only charging units. The chargers themselves will be located, I believe, on the side of the building for service vehicles.
Okay, just curious. I figured that was the case, but just wanted to ask that. Thank you.
Councilman Brightwell?
And I recall this from the site plan. We were sitting with you going through the site plan, and I asked the question at the time, and I think, I don't know whether you researched it or what is the daily activity at these locations, and what's the typical traffic, I mean, customer-wise, in this type facility?
Right. So customers here, it would be by appointment only. Customers would make appointments. They would schedule a time to bring their vehicles, drop them off, and then they would set up their own traffic or their own ride away from the premises as they drop off their vehicles for service. So for daily intake, I believe it's in the use letter. I believe we've outlined maybe 40 to 60 vehicles a week. So it's going to be very low volumes here.
Did you say 40 to 60?
Yes,
Okay.
a week.
40 to 60 vehicles per week?
Correct.
Is that's the norm for this type location?
Yeah, I can double check the use letter, but it's outlined in that. I apologize, I don't have that in front of me.
If the question is with regard to the number of vehicles per week?
Well, activity, I was trying to, this goes back, I was trying to get a daily activity for a facility like this. This is the only one outside of Chicago, I understand.
Right.
So it will, I just trying to get an idea of activity.
Okay, yeah, so vehicles will come in, when they're dropped off, they'll be driven into the building by a service employee, where they'll be reviewed, inspected. They'll be, and once they're inspected, there's a list of items that could be remedied, anywhere from software, hardware, body, or paint. And then once those vehicles are been diagnosed and service has been completed, the owner would be notified to come back and pick up their vehicles.
Okay. Yeah, I get that from a service standpoint. But I was looking more for activity. How many cars per day, per week? I'm just trying to get an idea of congestion, because at this point, is this the only one in the region outside of Chicago? Or will we have a traffic problem over there, congestion problem? Do we have to have a police station there to, bring people in and out? I'm just trying to get an idea of activity.
I have that data. I can send that to you. I can follow up.
Okay, yeah, that is important.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Seibert?
This is the first for Michigan, correct?
Correct.
So, I mean, to me, this is a great thing that this is coming to Southfield. I did have a question. You're really not visible from the street.
Correct.
From Telegraph, so I didn't hear anything about signage on Telegraph.
We're proposing a new monument sign off of Telegraph Road to indicate our location. And then also on the last rendering, we placed the red T flag on the upper right-hand corner of the building to maximize visibility as customers approach the building and drive by. But we will have a proposed monument sign off of Telegraph.
Well, I'm really pleased that Southfield was selected for this. This is great for our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Okay. This will come back on the 19th?
Yes, ma'am. This will come back on the 19th.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll respond to your question. I'll provide that prior to our next meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, council, that brings us to the council portion. Mr. Frazier, we'll start with you.
Well, I'm glad to be here. I've been looking forward to the time that I can get back here and mix it up with the rest of the council and try to get some things done for the city. But, and I still have a ways to go, but I'm happy to be here.
Good to see you. Councilwoman Banks?
Thank you. I would like to personally congratulate Mr. Fred Zorn on receiving the 2022 President's Award from the Michigan Economic Development Association on August 24th. The President's This award is given annually to members that have provided a substantial contribution to the Michigan Economic Development Association. The annual meeting is the biggest education and networking event of the year. Mr. Zorn, we're proud that you are now listed as part of the President's Award recipients, and we look forward to continued commitment in the association and with our city. So congratulations and the job well done. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Congratulations. Dr. Cruz?
I really didn't have anything else to add. I just wanted to say how glad I was to have the Boys and Girls Club, now I forget the new name they presented to us this evening, but that just, that they're back in Southfield, everything's coming back open, there's places for our young youth, to be able to do things, and as much as we can do that, we need to continue to, and I think it's another attraction for people to want to live here who have young children, so that they know that there are resources out here for them on a daily basis, and I think that's a very important thing. So other than that, that's all I have for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Mandelbaum?
Yes, thank you. This Thursday is the last Eat to the Beat lunchtime concert for the season. It takes place here on the front lawn from between 11 and 2. Again, that's Thursday, September 8th. They have food trucks, they have games. They have different things taking place on the lawn this Thursday, September 8th. Also, coming up on September 22nd, the City of Southfield will be holding a Dare Herd Reduction Advisory ballot question. So just to remind everyone that the City Council is putting on the ballot a question to the residents asking about if residents are in favor of a Dare Herd reduction and how we would go about doing that. So there's an informational meeting that will be held in the library auditorium on Thursday, September 22nd from 6 to 8 p.m. Mark your calendars. You can get more information from that and as well as on the city's website. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilman Brightwell?
For our veterans, the Oakland County Veteran Services is having a Veterans Resource Fair on November 3rd, 2022 in Rochester. It will be at 850 Letitia Drive in Rochester at OPC Senior Center. You can reach me here at the City Hall, and I can give you more detailed info, or you can, that's it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councilman Hoskins?
Thank you. I just want to just kind of talk about some of the impressive projects that we had come up tonight. A lot of big things happening in the city that our residents and the people who come to our city should be very proud of. A lot of firsts, a lot of the only in Michigan that came up on the screen. So it's very impressive. And I also just want to give or wish a very happy birthday to our city treasurer, Irv Lowenberg. He turns 21 today, for all of you who wanted to know. But beyond that, that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, I just wanted to let you know and give thanks to our city administrator for us having our office completed. We have our space available for our use. We have a refrigerator, a computer, a printer, and we'll be filling in. We'll get with the clerk and ask for little knickknacks and water and paper and things like that. But I just want to say thank you to City Administrator for hearing us and then creating a space for us, and all on your team who worked with you to do that. So thank you very much. I also want to remind our viewers that on Tuesday, September 13th, that we will be having the ribbon cutting at Chick-fil-A. Speaking of great things coming to Southfield.
It was delayed.
Oh, it was delayed. I apologize. I was just informed it was delayed.
It happened today.
Okay. But we do have a lot of great things happening here in the city, as was already mentioned. So it's going to be exciting for us here.
September 28th.
It's going to be September 28th for the ribbon cutting. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Mayor.
Well, good evening once again. A few things I wanted to catch you up on. First of all, a reminder that Community Pride Award Program is this Thursday, September 8th in the Pavilion at 6 p.m. Well over 100 residents will be recognized, or businesses or institutions. And please consider stopping by. At an earlier meeting, I mentioned to you that we've been approached by a delegation from Ghana that would like to visit the city. They are looking for business or trade opportunities, as well as a sister city relationship, perhaps. And they will be here on the 19th, tentatively at 1 p.m. That could be subject to change, but I'll let all of you know once it is confirmed. I think they're waiting on the Department of State clearance, but that's the plan. Yesterday, Police Chief Barron and I attended St. David's Episcopal Church for their gun safety and awareness of gun violence and their push to end or join forces in ending gun violence. It's been the suggestion of the church that, or the congregation, that Southfield conduct a gun buyback program. And Chief Barron is working with Oakland County on this effort, so there'll be more to report on that. And then finally, you may remember we had discussion earlier about the Remember Them exhibit last spring, and the police department, my office, Councilman Hoskins was there representing the council, and we met with our DEI coordinator, Kimberly Gotcha, and we've worked out a sort of a compromise, so which is agreeable to the police department. The Remember Them exhibit will return to the little knoll outside the library, between Parks and Rec and the library, or this building and the library. It'll be erected on the 22nd, sort of opened officially on the 23rd of September, and will remain through Thanksgiving. So you'll be welcome to attend, or if you can't attend that morning, at least come and see the exhibit. There will be something online explaining it, as well as signage in front of it, that it's not about Southfield. It's about the deaths due to violence, either by at the hands of police officers or vigilantes, and it is not specific to Southfield. It is about the greater societal problem that we've experienced with the loss of so many lives. And there'll be an accompanying book, as well as it will be online to explain this, and signage in front of the exhibit. So I wanted to bring you up to date on that, and we appreciate the help of our diversity, equity, and inclusion person in finding common ground also with the church. Thank you.
And the presentation is going to be on the 23rd?
On the 23rd. The time, I'm not sure, it'll be in the morning.
Okay.
More will come out. There will be a press release on this. Michael Mannion is in the loop.
Okay, thank you. City Administrator?
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to just thank council for the kind remarks a few moments ago about the Michigan Economic Development Association Award. Just to rest assure, my work product is a lot of strong, incredible people behind me. Al, Shelley, Terry Crode, and a whole lot of other folks on this team. But I also want to just recognize City Council and the Mayor for your political leadership. We've done some things that have been very cutting edge, and that doesn't happen without leadership. And I sincerely appreciate that. And my remarks at the meeting, I hoped I reflected that. It's not, this is, you know, very much a team here. And I landed here in October of 2008 and was excited and giddy and happy to be here. I'm still convinced it's one of the best communities in this state, one of the best suburban communities in this country, and we have so much to be proud of. And the example we set in how we redevelop, We're 60 years old. What do we do next? How do we reposition ourselves for this incredibly changing time that's facing us as Americans? And I'm grateful for the team and the leadership that's here. And you folks what you did at Northland doesn't happen every day. I mean, a lot of time. I mean, Councilman Frazier, Councilman Cruz, Councilwoman President Taylor, Councilman Brightwell, you were in all those meetings, hundreds of hours, and these things just don't happen. But we made it happen, and we were tenacious, we were creative, we really done some neat things, and I could cite example after example. You're talking about Northwestern Highway, what's happening on the other side. Look what you did with the old Federal Mogul Magnum building now, the Durr building. Some really neat repositioning of buildings have happened here, and we've got quite a story to tell. Thank you.
Thank you for those kind words. Madam Attorney?
Yes, good evening. Thank you. I have nothing further to add.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Just a reminder, our next council meeting will be on the campus of Lawrence Tech. We will be in the Learning Center Gallery Meeting Room that's in Building 3. We do have a map that's attached to the website for our residents if they have any issues finding it. That is under our events under the website, and I'll make sure I talk to Mr. Mannion to make sure it's at the top as our meeting approaches next week. And just speaking of activities, the Parks and Recs fall guide went out, so it's tons of activities and things that you can do from starting age to 5 all the way to 70 and up, and the mayor has it right there. So it's tons of great things. My son started a flag football camp today here on campus. So again, to add to what Councilman Hoskins said, we do have a lot of great things going here so we can continue the momentum. Thank you.
Thank you. Planner?
I have nothing more this evening, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have nothing to schedule. Is there any other business here tonight? Hearing none, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.